Hey y'all, hey! Welcome to another edition of the Black Gold Texas Tea Show. And I'm your host, Sweet Tea, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. In my last episode, I shared my heart about the loss of my dear mother and the journey of grief that I was experiencing. But as July unfolds, I want to talk about what comes next: healing, joy, and rediscovering purpose. And who better to guide that conversation with us than someone whose life work has been helping others grow? He's a certified life coach, a motivator, a truth teller, and someone who knows how to help people move from being stuck to strong. Welcome, my dear friend and little brother, to the show, Mr. Darius McDonald, also known as DMAC. Hey, DMAC.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very excited to have you here this morning. And for everybody else, just know that I have watched this young man speak life, give clarity, and help people unlock what's already inside of them. He does it with me all of the time. So today we're going to talk through some of those things, the kind of things that help you breathe better, think clearer, and live freer. This month, I've been talking about grief and helping find freedom and what it really means to live a life that has changed. And I can't think of a better way to do that than to voice us, have a guide voice us and help us through this particular part of the journey. So let's just get into it because somebody listening is ready to shift. I know they are. Somebody is ready to heal. Somebody is ready to walk in freedom. And I believe that this conversation is just going to be the very nudge that's needed. Um, when we're talking about this, I think it's important, Darius, that we take a look at what is beyond um, freedom, meaning not just independence, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. What can that look like? What would be some of your insight as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, I think that's great, right? When we talk about freedom, freedom can mean so many facets of things, right? But freedom is truly beyond what we have known it, but it depends on your definition of freedom, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And being free means that whom the Lord has set free, he has been free indeed,
Yes, sir.
right? Meaning that freedom that when you show up, you are free. You're no longer bound. You're no longer changed to the very thing that's been holding you back, but you're free. Meaning that when you show up in a place, you are free because you're open to be in that space completely free. I mean, it's what I've learned in my experience in life is that I've been set free, whereas meaning that I've been free within myself. We live from the inside out. And so if we're free, that means that if you used to do something, that doesn't mean that's who you're called to be today. And just because the friends bring that up or the past or something like that, that doesn't mean you're chained to that place. It's a place where you were, but now you live in this space now. And sometimes we have to recognize that our friends won't allow us, or certain people won't allow us to move forward in their mind
Right.
because that's where they are being planted. And that's how they see you, but that's not who you are.
And
And so
and to your point, they'll see us in our new life when we allow ourselves to truly be free and
free.
move into what that purpose is, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I know that it's important for us to understand when we talk about purpose, what does that really mean? And also stop. So I say stop first and define what purpose means to you. But what could you give as encouragement when someone may think that they thought they uncovered what their purpose was, or they may feel that, oh my gosh, I've waited too long. I don't know how to define it. I don't have time to define that now. What would you say to someone with that kind of mindset?
I think that's great, right? For purpose, right? We use that word and we gravitate towards that, but purpose is can be as simple as hard as you want it to be defined.
Okay.
And age is no limitation. For
Agreed.
me, what my belief is that if you still have breath in your body, that means you still have time to move forward in your purpose to be used because of the very thing that sent you here. It's what's calling you. The God, the universe, the infinite has brought you here in this space and time for a purpose, for a time such as this. But sometimes we have to pause and be in tune with the very who we are,
Hmm.
right? To fulfill that. And sometimes we get so focused on traditional patterns about, oh, I'm too old. I'm too old to do this type of job. I'm too old to be married. I'm too old. But in that, and then sometimes we struggle with saying, well, uh, I was thinking about when I was thinking about your question right now. I'm thinking about the thing mahogany, right? Do you know where you're going to?
Hmm.
Do you like the things that life is showing you?
Hmm.
Right. So, but what are we doing to get in line with that purpose that's calling us?
Yeah.
Meaning that we have to admit who we are. We have to admit and do what we have to do to be in alignment to move towards it. Because sometimes it's like, well, what are my friends going to say?
Hmm.
Well, my job has all of my time, or my kids have all of my time. When I progress in this or mature in this, then I can do what I'm called to do in my purpose.
I
But yet,
agree.
yeah, and we totally forget about that as your children are getting older, you're getting older. Life is changing, life is doing that, but God is calling you to this purpose.
And I think that's a very important thing to be mindful of. What and for those of you who are parents, it may be your children. But I love the fact that you talking DMAC about your friends. What I hear you saying though, it's also important to never lose sight of self, even though you have these other things around you. And it's imperative that you understand that your purpose is not necessarily defined if I could say that, it's not necessarily defined by what's around you because God knew when He made you that these things would be a part of who you are, but they may not define all of who you are. And when you're talking about friends, especially, children have a way of bringing lessons back to you. And I think it's imperative that we recognize whether it's friends or children, others in our family that we love, our purpose may not be one thing. It may not be single in dimension, but there are seasonal assignments as well as lifelong calling. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. Just because when I want to say it was 2024 when I had this revelation that, at times when you can be in corporate, you can have your own business, and sometimes you feel like you have to separate yourself to be in one compartment or the other. However, you should show up who you are with your gift and talents, and then you exercise that whatever is calling you at that time, but you don't have to decide.
Yeah,
Be you who you're called to be in those different areas of your life, for sure.
I agree. Thank you so much for that. And I guess what I was thinking about is even as I look at my own life right now, I can look retrospectively and think of several things that I never ever thought in a million years that I would be doing, right? Whether it's associated with work, whether it's associated with someone coming to me and me offering advice. I think part of that is being mindful that all of us were given life for purpose, on purpose, because God does everything in that manner, right? And when we are aware that the purpose of our lives is not single in dimension, it may allow us to be open to seeing how God can take us from situation to situation, from assignment to assignment, and coming out of a moment of grief, which is part of our humanity. It's imperative to remember that there's still purpose with that experience as it prepares us for the next one coming.
Yes,
Um,
yes, that's good. Yes.
Um, what are some signs that you might think of that people might see as something that would let them know that you might be a bit out of alignment with what it is that God has purposed you to do, if there's such a thing?
Yeah, I think, it goes along with obedience. And sometimes we forget about that because obedience can have a weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
and when you have that obedience. But however, when it's all about what results, what are you seeing in your life? That feedback, when it's, you're, what are you seeing that is coming up in different areas, um, when you're set up to do this, but you feel like you're off the market. But then I would ask, okay, in what areas do you need to be more focused? Meaning laser focus on the very thing you are been called to do, meaning that are you doing all that you can within you, right? But you're not like, we're gonna talk about the at the pool of Bethesda where the guy is sitting by the pool is waiting for somebody to put him in. But he had the opportunity to get himself in there, but it was his belief system. But he said, okay, take up your bed and walk. And then he said, go, which way he was telling, take up your bed and walk. He said, go and live in a new way.
That
So
can
we,
be challenging, Darius. It can be challenging when it's right in front of you
hmm
and you can see it, but
hmm
you miss the part that you have to do something.
hmm hmm
Like it's not that God can't drop whatever blessing he wants to on you, but there's a part of it that he wants to see that you're committed to this thing too. So I
yes,
love the fact that you said we have to do our part. And I still believe that God will send something to you that will make you aware that he has purpose and to help you realign what that purpose may be. Now we laughed back in the day and said, now look, if you're going through the same thing over and over again, that could be something that the Lord is saying. So okay, so you didn't get it. Okay, let me take that. Let me take you through that again a different way. It's the same lesson because you're gonna go through this till you get it, right? And it doesn't have to be harsh or anything like that, but just recognize that everything that happens in our life is preparing us for the next thing. And the Lord is not going to allow us to move if we're not prepared. So we can stay in that space, but I think it's imperative that we be mindful that this can come in any kind of way. If we are careful to pray, order my steps. If we are careful to say, give me sight, help me see my life the way you see my life, help me see myself the way you see me, Lord, then I think that the quiet voice that he sometimes speaks to you in, if you miss it, he'll bring somebody along to let you hear it louder. And you've certainly been that to me. One of the things that I share with you away from the show is that, and so I'm telling y'all this too, Darius is that little brother that has been around me, and I'm sure he's done it for others as well, long enough that if I show up to a place with any level of uncertainty, or any level of insecurity or anything that may be possibly making me hold myself back, he just walks up and announces it to me like he's been in my head the whole time, and I'm like, dude, wait a minute. But my point of even sharing that, and I'll give you a particular example. When we talked about the wedding, that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. We went to my pseudo niece's beautiful wedding, and when we had spoken, I asked my girl Alona, like, what are the colors for the wedding, so that I'm prepared. And she said, honey, I talked to her. She said, just wear whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever makes you feel comfortable. And I'm like, okay, well, if y'all know me, and if you look at this backdrop, I show up in red every time I have the opportunity. Well, I show up in my beautiful little red dress, and the colors were these beautiful muted tones. And here I stand looking like a harlot in a quiet place. But that was my own message to myself. Like, I didn't announce that anywhere, but as soon as DMAC walked in, he walked straight to me. He said, I see you showing up. You remember that, Darius? I
do,
see you
yes.
showing up like you always do. And the words that he shared were never to bring me down, but to encourage me to see that I may not be like everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. And that is completely okay. God created us in that manner to step into whatever the situation is and be our honest and genuine selves. And that's what I hear you saying, regardless of the situation. Every time we show up, we must show up as who God made us to be. And we
Yes.
never know how simply being ourselves will allow us to add that one little thing that is necessary for that moment to be even more beautiful. Do you remember that, Darius?
Yes, I do. And because dominion is our character, right? Dominion. And as we're showing up, that means that everyone else can freely show up themselves too if we show up. Because we never know about the encounter, about if we are truly being authentic, that allows everything, the energy, everything to flow in that time and space. And we're not missing that moment. I often say that we must be mentally and physically in the space that we share in order for things to happen in a way that's impactful. And sometimes we can just be lackadaisical and just show up. But what if you show up in a way that you can be impactful to press upon, okay, however you're going to use me today, however you're going to use me, I'm a vehicle, I'm a vessel to be there in that space.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that because, to your point, we never know, first of all, what our presence means to anybody else in the room or in the environment. We don't know what that means. And I'm saying that because if we allow our grief to hold us back, it could also be holding back a blessing that the Lord has given us to give someone else.
for sure.
A lot of the reason that I even talked about the challenges that I've had with this 38-year-old grief that seems to come and whenever it wants to, it just kind of shows up, is because I'm hoping that it encourages someone else to recognize, first of all, you're not the only one. This is not the only and first time this situation has ever happened. And the mere audacity to show up and proclaim my next part of the journey in spite of what I'm feeling can be empowering to someone else. And so I appreciate that feedback from you in that moment because whether you knew it or not, I didn't want to, in my mind, I was destroying my niece's wedding. Oh my God. People were going to step back and say, who she thinks she is? Didn't somebody tell her why she? And what you did by speaking to me in that moment was remind me that I showed up as my genuine self. And I showed up in a manner that would allow others, as you said, to be comfortable being themselves as well. I didn't think anything about that. But we never know how us showing up, how God will translate that to be what it is He needs that to be to everybody else that's there. Because nobody all got the same message,
That's true.
you
And
know?
while you're saying that, the thing that we have to remember that we build our future thought by thought. And so as we building that future in that thought was the inner thought.
It was.
But things can show up in a way where we think that's the whole picture when it's just a thought. And we have to shift that thought in a way that gets us into a higher playing field. He said, think on these things. These things are above, not beneath. I am the head and not the tail. So if we can shift, when we shift it, that allows us to move forward and not waddle in that very thing that we think that we need to be in, because we can't stop thinking, right?
Right.
So we have to make sure we're sowing good thoughts, and then we have to change it. No different than we change the dial on the radio. We have to change that frequency to get it higher, or do a different wavelength to get us in a place where we're shifting that and not staying in that, for sure.
And for our Gen Zs, you might not be looking at a radio. They checked me about that in the class one day, Darius. I thought I would lose my mind. I was like, oh my God, they're not even doing radio anymore. But there's still a frequency that even as you, what's the word that they use? Stream. As you
Oh,
stream
streaming,
from channel to channel,
right, for
you're
sure.
still streaming at a different environment, at a different level of frequency. And so the same thing that Darius is sharing is even true in that situation. So I just wanted to make sure we brought our Gen Zs back to hang
Oh,
out
right,
with the
right.
conversation for
Those
sure.
different rhythms of life, for sure.
Absolutely. And they are definitely out there in that manner. Listen, what I know that my listeners may just be learning is that you have had an amazing journey as you have gotten to this place in your life as well. What would you say inspired you to become a life coach?
Oh, that's how can we unpack that all in one session? It could be, I was raised by my grandparents,
Okay.
and so I watched my grandmother in a way to be able to speak to people that was impactful in all walks of life. Meaning, it could be the insurance salesman who came door to door back in the day, or it could be her at her business. They owned a collision repair shop and a detail shop and a detail car shop. And so they would have different interactions, well, different, different levels of people who, but her interaction, she was very intentional about if could sense something, her intuition was so strong. But if she sensed something that she would speak into our lives. And before it was what we call it today is life coaching, right? But she was impactful in that way, and to see her life. And then for me, I I guess I took that upon me, and it kind of I guess took the or took it over the years. I've seen myself more and more and do when I guess it was 2018 is when I decided that, you know what, I've done this with my coworkers, done this with people who I've met over the course of the years. Now it's time to be in a part where we make it official and be a life coach in 2018. Got my certification in that. And it's more, I think Zig Ziglar said it best that if I can help enough people get what they want, then I can get what I want.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
so I want to be impactful in that way. So that what led me to be in a space of mentor, leading people in a way that's helpful. And Maya Angelou said, she says that those who learn teach.
Hmm.
And so you can raise a level of awareness by someone about what you know. So that's all led to that part of me being a life coach for
Well, there's
sure.
so much richness in that too, Darius, because what I also know, um, one of the quotes from Maya Angelou was, "When we know better, we do better." And I think it's imperative that we recognize that as we continue to live, as you said earlier, if you're still here, that means that you still have purpose. Because when your purpose is met, the Lord will bring you home, right?
Yes.
But I also recognize that we're learning lessons all along the way, and we may think that they're just for us. And they're really not. They are exactly what you just mentioned, in that you're sharing the lessons that you've learned over your lifetime. You're using the skills that you observed in your grandparents to share, because you knew how they affected you. You saw how they affected others as it was happening as you were growing up. And so, what you've decided to do, probably is a good decision, is to pull those things that you've learned over your lifetime and share them with others. And I think it's critically important to recognize that that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become a life coach, but there's something that you're learning as you go through your own individual life that I promise you the Lord will put somebody in your life in the future that will allow you to share your lesson with them, to encourage them and empower them to be stronger and continue. That's a lot of what this is about. That's a lot of what I'm hoping all of you will take away from this. So I'm going to ask you also, DMAC, if someone's listening right now and they might feel stuck, they may not know how they can move forward. Is there a way that they can either connect with your channels, with your various platforms that you use? I know you're all over Facebook. I know that you're all over TikTok. I know that you're on Instagram. But what are some of the things that you might say to them to encourage them? And then how can they get over to you and subscribe and hear what you have to say?
Great question. Um, the thing is that we must live by design and default. And in a way, living by design and not default, meaning that for my, for my way is that, or the way that God is calling me to lead others, I can't help your way, but I can help you my way.
Okay.
And that allows you to be in a space that I'm not the one who has all the answers, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who can provide guidance and can shed light on the very things that we know within ourselves, calling you to your true purpose, calling you to be able to sit in that very thing to know of assurance. We have four quadrants in life, that is time and money, freedom, health and wellness, relationship, and vocation. Those
Okay.
are four quadrants in life that we have that we should look at in a way to say, okay, which one am I feeling some kind of way? and we become laser focused on that, where you're feeling that longing and discontent to show up in a way that where you're going to be laser focused in on. So anyway, I'm a guide, and I'd say that I'm a dream builder. Um, that we can dream in a way to create, because as we know about the vision that God gave Joseph.
Mm.
He had the vision, um, but there was not shared every step along the way. And so sometimes we can take that as feeling that we're stuck in
Ooh.
life, and we want to be where we're looking in. We often say that we want to be like the kangaroo, the mother kangaroo. We want to look in to see, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But we live life that you may see the big picture, but you don't know the steps away, because we have to, we're building that future thought by thought. And the next decision you make will lead you and guide you in a place where you can have better results.
Oh my gosh, Barry. Let
Yeah.
me interrupt you real quick because if you don't know the story of Joseph, if you don't know, you need to find that story biblically and unpack it. Because you have just hit me all kinds of ways with that. I promise you, I was like, Lord, won't you just tell me what to do? I'm doing this on purpose, and I'll get back. But I sat in Dallas for at least a decade saying, I just want to move and be closer to my sister. I just want to move and be closer to my sister. This is what I need you to be mindful of. Be, as Darius started this whole discussion off with, be mindful of your words. And another way to look at that is you better be careful what you ask God for, because He will deliver that to you. And I have to say this real quick though. I thought I wanted to be closer to my sister, and I am now closer to my sister, Darius. But it occurred to me, I'm the same distance from my sister here in North Carolina as I was when I was in Dallas. Now, that may blow your mind because you're like, that girl, that is not. Yes, I am. I could get on a plane from Dallas and fly for 2 hours. Here in Charlotte, I can get in my car and drive for 2 hours. The point that I'm making in saying that is, I thought that I needed to move to be closer to my sister. And I moved to Durham right where she was, and the Lord pulled me right out of that and put me right here in Charlotte for where my work was. So what that said to me was, well, Lord, what was the point then? Let me go back to where I was in the first place. And it occurred to me that He had to remove me from everything that was familiar. He had to remove me for everything that I had become complacent in. He had to put me in a place where He could do what? He could create a new thing, you know? And I, baby, let me tell y'all, I went through this whole thing kicking and screaming all along the way. Darius has heard some of it. My dear friend along has heard some. My girlfriends and my sister, they've heard me crying, and because I could just go back to Texas, and I could, but I choose not to. And so, what I think is imperative in that piece is to recognize what you think is going to be may not always be what it is. But if you're doing what it is that God has for you, it will always be to your good and to His glory. Real quickly, if you could tell me, Darius, what can they do to make sure that they can find you?
Great question. So I'm on all social media platforms, as you shared already. So it could be dmaclifecoach.com or dmaclifecoaching.com. That there are two ways, and you can go in there. There's a lead magnet that's there. You can insert your email address. That will allow you to be a part of my newsletter weekly that goes out. And then also, there's a group that Living Abundantly on Facebook. You can be part of that group, and there's different things that I share there that will allow you to. It's more about awakening you to be in a place that you are conscious. Sometimes in life, we're on autopilot and we're not conscious. And when we're not conscious, we're not living in a way that's purposeful.
Okay.
And so it caused you to do that. And I like the way you were saying earlier about the moves you had to make. And sometimes in life, paradigms will say that I've been good to you. Um, why would you dare leave? Have I not come through you for before? And it goes into all the what ifs, but sometimes we need to move in a way to shift some things in our life. It's no more than going home in a different way to get yourself out of autopilot. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to share when you were talking about our words have power, right? It causes us that what is your set belief? What
Mhm.
do you truly believe on today about yourself? What do you believe? Right? And also, you have to remember your words have to be in alignment. Your belief had to be in alignment. And any doubt and worry would negate all that you believed when you initially believed. So, as we're going through that consciousness, we have to remain focused in a way. My words must line up, my belief must line up. That's when it said, and when I came to myself,
Yeah, how about that?
so we have to be conscious in this thing we call life to see a better results and also see that we can have our heart's desire, but what are you believing?
Yeah. And that's critical because even if we come out of the word of God and go to the world, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you right. So it all starts with what you think, and it will
Yeah,
have to be followed by those actions.
yes, for sure.
I certainly hope that all of you have gained some insight from my dear friend and brother about purpose. Your words today have been so encouraging, and I know that you and I are both lifelong learners. But just know that I thank you for being a light for me, not in this instance, not just for me, but in the world. You are truly living the legacy of helping others to step into theirs, even if it's just a little sound bites that you get of encouragements, little words of the day. I'm telling y'all, if you haven't seen him, look for him. He will encourage your soul. And thank you for pouring into us today. I encourage you to connect with him if you haven't already. I encourage you to look for him and follow his encouragement because he's going to give you something that's going to help you walk through what may feel like a little bit of darkness in the moment. Be encouraged on all platforms, right?
Yes. Teresa, just before we sign off here,
Uh-huh.
I want to be sure because something is really resonating right now about grief. It's just coming up for me right now.
Okay.
So grief, we have to remember that grief we take as long as we need to get surpassed where we are,
For sure.
as long as we need. And everybody's grief walks looks different than the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we want to measure up to the next person, or we have people who just don't understand about grief, and grief comes in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
My grief may not look like yours. I can tell you that I experienced a overwhelming part of grief recently, this year because of my childhood home being sold off,
Oh, okay.
and I couldn't really figure out what that was about, but it showed a form of grief. But I had to get within myself to pause, but feel what I was feeling in that space and not feel some kind of way about it, but feel it. Meaning that we feel it in a way that we don't numb it down. We could cry, we could
Mm-hmm.
scream, we could break something, whatever we need to do to be in that moment, but we're not numbing it when we don't feel what we feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm encouraging everyone today is that grief comes in different facets, different ways in our lives. It shows up different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And we try that on and we welcome it because it is in a place of where it's happening with us, not to us.
Absolutely.
And so we have to breathe in those moments, knowing that, okay, here it is, but we don't push it off. We welcome it and we flow through it in a way that allows us to feel it, try it on, but not stay there, but you're not numbing it.
Yeah.
And so
And I
feel that.
love that you said to cry. Don't feel any kind of anxiety about that. That's what the Lord has given us. That's what God has given us to purge. So if
Yes.
that's what you need to do, do that. And you know what, DMAC, I promise you, I'm gonna have you back again because I know that there's so much more that we can unpack whether it's about grief or empowering and moving forward with what we have yet to do.
Yes.
As we get ready to close, I just want to remind you that as we move through July, it's imperative that we not just remember who we've lost or what we've lost. Let's remember who we're becoming. And with help, with truth, and with grace, we can be all that God has created us to be. You know, I always tell you we're more alike than we are different, and that the rest of our life should be the best of our life. So I'm encouraging you to find a way as we leave here today, and as you've heard these words, let them resonate in your spirit. Please like, share, and subscribe the show so that you'll know when the next one is coming up. Be encouraged today and always. And until next time, God bless.